Hi, I'm Helena. So welcome to the last part of the Bayreuth Ring series. I don't know how many people are actually still watching this series because it's very, very well cut down to the current Bayreuth production. So again, if you have not watched the Wagnerian series and you don't know Götterdämmerung, this would be the point to watch it. I'm gonna wait here. I'm gonna still be here. Still watch this later after watching the hour I've talked about Götterdämmerung. If you know Götterdämmerung already, so you can stay here and we're gonna go into this. So, Götterdämmerung. We already know the setting of kind of the prologue of it all, which is the two bedrooms that Siegfried, I wanted to say Jamie and Cersei, no, that Siegfried and that I don't know my names anymore, that Sigmund and Sieglinde saw when they remembered their younger selves. So we've got this set going on, and there's a girl sleeping in one of the beds. And the Norns are there, and they're kind of these nightmarish creatures. They're really not pretty. It's not good. Not at all. They're really creepy, and I hope the girl sleeping in the bed doesn't have too many nightmares after this. But the Norns are kind of there, they're recounting the tale. There's kind of also this thing, at least last year, it's not in the original production from 2020 something, from 4 years ago. So now there's also the little boy with a yellow t-shirt is there, and there's also Alberich, and they're kind of recounting this by reenacting this. But they all have this this silvery, glittery skin going on. It's really nightmarish. But then they leave, and now comes, in my opinion, one of the best scenes in the whole Schwarzring, which is Siegfried and Brünnhilde talking. And I want you to read this portion of Götterdämmerung and read it two ways. Read it one way, saying Siegfried and Brünnhilde are madly in love with each other. And then read it the second way, when they say the marriage is over. And it works. Because how I see it, as you know, this is all how I see this production. How I see it is Brünnhilde, she's glowing. I suppose she's the boss of her own firm. She's got the money of her daddy. It's all been going great. She's doing well. She's looking spectacular. Let's be real. She's really good. And Siegfried, he's the husband of. Because while Brünnhilde is, of course, this $1 million baby, this Nepo baby, Siegfried is not. He's a working class guy, and he doesn't work. So it's just the lower class, because working class without working is lower class. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't behave properly. He's kind of out of this world. Love has cooled between them. And he just wants to leave. Let's be real. The firm isn't his. The house isn't his. The girl, his daughter, likes her mother better than him. And he's just like, no, bro, it's too much. And Brünnhilde gives him so much. She gives him her shield. she gives him her horse slash her trainer to go with him, to accompany him. And if you read it like that their marriage is over, it fits so well, because it's, oh yeah, so now I've got to use your shield and all my victories go to you. Wonderful. This is great, bro. This is wonderful. Now I also have to take your horse. Wow, thank you. Great. And he leaves them. He leaves with Grane. And the girl doesn't really care about this so much. And as I said, the marriage is really, it's at the end. Let's be real. It's going down. I'm yelling timber. So then the stage transforms. The two rooms, they go back up in the air, and we're now at the new Walhall. And if you remember, I think I told you in the Rhine Gold that there's very much going on in hair color. So we've got Wotan and most of his offspring with this really platin blonde hair. And they're rich by themselves. They're really upper class. It's all going on. And now we have the new Walhall, the new version of what Wotan built. And it's very sterile, it's very artsy. It's also, well, let's say there's a beautiful picture of Hagen and Gunther and Gudrune slaying a zebra. This is, of course, something one would want to have. And it's all kind of this plastic encased. There's nothing natural anymore. It's really not pretty. And then we have Gunther and Gudrune. So I also, at this point, should talk about clothing. As I said, Brünnhilde, she's glowing. She's in her businesswoman era. She's good. And then there's Siegfried with like this, I don't know, this cardigan thing, which does not look good in men. Let's be clear about this. Cardigans do not look good on men. It's very, very expensive cardigan, but still a cardigan. And it's brown at that, so it's not pretty. And now we have, in this new Walhall situation, we have Gunther, who also played Hagen the first time, who also played Wotan in the third act of the Valkyrie when I first saw it. And we have him. He is kind of, he's wearing a t-shirt, and I have to quote it. I'm sorry. There's a t-shirt going on where it stands in bold letters, "Who the fuck is Grane?" Which is hilarious, and I had to laugh so hard when I first saw it, and I couldn't because it was in the theater. So he's got this long, he's kind of a battered up version of Lucius Malfoy. Like Lucius Malfoy, if the Deathly Hallows went on for a few more years, and then he would look like this. So he's been on drugs. Gunther has been on drugs, let's be honest. He's got this, he's got the dark roots in his hair. He's platinum blonde, but he's got the dark roots. And he's really pathetic excuse for a man. Let's be real. Then we have Gudrune, who is, well, I think there's more plastic than anything else in her body. There are two, the horrible thing is there would be a very easy way to make you understand it, but it is part of German television. So there's a family that's called die Geissens, and they look like that. So she is also this very plasticky, and you know the drill. The Kardashians would be so embarrassed because they don't have enough plastic in their bodies as she does. Whole Kardashian family doesn't have enough plastic as she does. And that's Gudrune. She also has the dark roots and also has the platinum blonde hair. Woohoo! And she's, I think, donned into this kind of neon green ensemble. yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know where he's going, but it's really not pretty to look at. Anyway, and then we've got Hagen. Hagen is this really old guy. He's a few years older than Siegfried, as we know. And how should I put this? He's wearing a yellow t-shirt. Hagen was the boy from the Rhine gold. It's been stolen by Alberich. Then he has been given to Fafner, and he's never met anything but hate. And then the first time that he thought he would go out of this circle, when Siegfried killed Fafner, Siegfried left him for a woman. So he's got this deep, deep hatred seated in him. And yeah, well, it's not pretty. Also, after Fafner's death, of course, Alberich sought him out, and he's kind of claimed him as his son. So Hagen has been fed with all this hatred over the years, and especially against Siegfried and also against Brünnhilde. But he also always feels sorry for children because he knows how that is. And yeah, that's Hagen. I almost feel sorry, but he's still... I feel even less sorry for Siegfried in this one. Because you remember, this is a non-magical setting. So, love potion? I don't think so. Anyway. So basically, they're having their usual talk. Gunther, you're a loser. Gudrune, you're a loser. You don't have a husband and a wife. But I would think that Brünnhilde of, I don't know, Valhall Enterprises, she would be good for you. And Siegfried, who's the biggest hero in the world, would be good for you. No one cares that they're married. At this point, let's just say it. They would be good for you. Or maybe Hagen also, because it's obviously the same text, but it's a different synopsis. So maybe Hagen's also like, but they're on a break momentarily, so you could snatch them. Could also be. So, of course, Siegfried comes, and he's received like a hero, basically. What I don't think is happening in his home anymore, because he's a nobody in his home. He's just this working class dude who married a good girl. And now they say, oh, he's slain the dragon. He kicked off away. No, let's not go into that. He kicked away the cane and then he died. And you're such a hero. And Siegfried's totally into this. And Gunther's like, hey, bro, I want to be your friend. And they kind of, they say, let's make a brother drink. And they do that in the original as well, obviously. But in this case, they don't use their own blood. Because they don't want this, really. But, I mean, who could be there to just get a few liters of blood out of? Oh, Grane! Yes, for real. I mean it. They drag him into the kitchen and mysteriously there comes out of a shallot of blood. Weird. But anyway. So we also see like him later a bit. Not yet. Anyway. There's no love potion in this case. Because you always have to remember that Siegfried is married to a warrior. He's married to this great warrior queen. And how shall I put this? I don't think he sees himself as appreciated enough. And I don't think she's also up for everything, if you know what I mean. And when he sees Gudrune, he knows she's up for everything. Everything. Everything there is under the bloody sun, she's up for. And he's kind of like, woohoo! Who needs a love potion? Get here, baby! And he's having the time of his life. And he still remembers his wife. Isn't that great? Woohoo! Anyway. So doesn't need a love potion. He just wants Gudrune anyway. And he doesn't also need Grane anymore, who at one point in the first act, I don't know exactly when, is rolled out on this kind of cart, and he's over and over cut in his face and his body. He's stripped down to his underwear. He's just moving just a little bit on the cart. And later they also, I'm sorry, they chop his head off and they wrap it in plastic. And he's then thrown in a kind of a plastic bag, his head, because we need him later. I'm just telling you this now because we will see him again later. And Siegfried again is like, hey, what can I do to get your sister? And Gunther's like, hey, I don't know, Brünnhilde, this would be cool. And Siegfried's like, yeah, cool. Obviously, I mean, I know the code for the door. This is so cool. This is so cool. And they leave together. And then we're back at like the two rooms of, well, Brünnhilde's home and her daughter. And they having a mother-daughter thing, kind of a bit of tea, a bit of a book, and all that. And suddenly there is a shadow outside the room, and Waltraute comes in. And Waltraute, I'm gonna say Waltraute looks like she broke out somewhere. She broke out of a facility for insane people. Let's be real. She wears the same clothes as in the Valkyrie, or she's lived on the streets, could also be. She lived on the streets, she's run down, she's still wearing the same clothes as in the Valkyrie, but now really burned out, it's torn up, she's really not a good state of mind, her hair is cut unevenly, it's not pretty. Let's be real at this point, it's not pretty. She broke out from somewhere and she wants a child. Because in this case, of course, everything that Waltraute tells Brünnhilde is a dream. She's insane. Waltraute is insane. So everything she tells Brünnhilde is a lie. She just wants the child. Because she thinks if she has the child, then everything's going to be okay anymore. But of course, Brünnhilde doesn't give it to her. So Brünnhilde chases Waltraute away and they think, okay, good, this is... Yeah, well. Then, of course, they hear Siegfried's horn. And Brünnhilde's like, wow, he came back, he's my guy. He's my man, it's so wonderful. Great, cool, I love him so much, this is wonderful. And then Gunther comes in. Again, no helmet, so Gunther himself comes in, and we see behind a window where Waltraute also came in, and behind the curtains, we see Siegfried standing. Brünnhilde doesn't see him because there's a wall between them. But he's standing there and he sings and Gunther speaks. This is not easy to say. And Gunther basically binds the child so that she doesn't have to see what's going on then, and closes her eyes, and also does the same, not closes her eyes, but kind of this situation. So he does this to both the child, who he binds close to a chair, and also to Brünnhilde. And he doesn't rape her on stage, he runs against her. Never mind. Anyway, it's not pretty. I'm really glad that they kind of closed the eyes, that the child didn't have to see it. And that's the end of Act 1. So, second act, we kind of have this huge hall, just white, and there's kind of this boxing thing, you know, where you box against. And Hagen is having a nap over there, and Alberich comes and he says, "Oh, Hagen, my son, we're just so great. We're not like father son. We're just like bros, and you're gonna do everything I want." And he's gotten really old, Alberich, by the way. Man, he's gotten old. And Hagen's like, "Yeah, okay, good. I'm gonna do it. Just shut up." And Alberich vanishes. And Siegfried comes along with the child, because you remember, children are the ring. The future is the ring. The child is the ring. So instead of taking the ring away from Brünnhilde, he took away the child from Brünnhilde. So the child is obviously mortified by everything that's going on. And she doesn't know why daddy behaves like this. And he immediately stomps off with the now clad in black leather. Like, we're going into the very, very cheap area right now. So she's clad in this black leathery, but shiny black leather. You know, this kind of very cheap stuff that hookers wear. So that's what she looks like. And every plastic in her upper body is pushed to the middle, which also weird. Anyway, Siegfried's like, "Woohoo!" and goes after her. So Hagen kind of cares for child. Of course he doesn't know how to properly care for a child, but he at least takes care of her a little bit, and she knows immediately that she can trust him. Because in this case, Siegfried's the bad guy, not Hagen. Hagen is just a victim of the circumstances. Siegfried's the bad guy. And Hagen calls the choir, and the whole, backside of the stage opens, and there come a lot of people who are clad in black, and they've got these huge Germanic masks in front of their faces. So this is so creepy. This is really so creepy, especially for a child, I must think. Anyway, I believe Sebastian Schwartz that he did this in kind of a playful way all the time, but it's still creepy. Anyway, they come in and fill the stage. And then Hagen's like, "Yeah, okay, good. We're gonna have a double wedding. This and this is gonna happen." They're having a party. At one point of it all, they don their... I'm so sorry. Again, we have still construction working across the street, so the whole house is kind of shaking at some points, and there's stuff that's flying around in the other rooms. So basically, where was I? Yeah, they kind of get away their cloaks and the masks at one point, and then they're just celebrating in party costumes. But before that, there's still Brünnhilde coming, and Brünnhilde is still in her night clothes. So she wears this kind of horribly piggy pink. I'm sorry, Miss Piggy. Piggy pink, really ugly nightgown and overcoat, and she's still got the blindfold. Blindfold, that's the name. Blindfold in front of her eyes. Yeah. Obviously, she is very afraid, I would think. And then they take it away from her, and she's all surrounded of these weird people with masks, and she asks, what on earth happened there? So, of course, the usual story. She and Gunther, and then Siegfried comes, and she sees him, and she says, "Oh, Siegfried, darling, da 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 da." And he's like, "No? What? Like, no way, bro. It's no." And she's, of course, even more angry when she sees that he has her daughter. Obviously, because every woman, every mother, she's becoming a lioness when we're talking about her daughter. And they have the usual fight. And instead of a spear, it's now this these 4 rings who are made to, well, kill people. Schlagring situation, you know what I mean. So they swear on this set of rings of Hagen. When they say, I have never been with this woman, I have been with this man, da 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 da. You know the drill. And then, of course, they're having the times of their life. The whole party goes back to where they came from, which is just a black hole behind the very white stage. And they're having their party, and Gudrun and Siegfried are celebrating along, and Hagen and Gunther and Brünnhilde form their plan to kill Siegfried. And this is the end of Act 2. Yes, so now we're in Act 3, and we are exactly back where we started. You remember we were at this pool in the first part of the Wagnerian series. We were at the pool in the Rhine. Now, I don't really get how this happened, because in the Rhine, the pool was like this deep, and now it's, I don't know, 3 meters deep or something. So now we're in the pool. It's not being used by anything. There's no water in it. There are just these kind of cracks in the floor. And this is where, well, Siegfried is set out to fish. Because obviously climate crisis is a big thing in this one. So the world is at its end, and he tries to get something via the pool, basically. And he's got his daughter with him, because again, she's the ring. And then there come these 3 strange women who are looking like as if they've been on like various game shows and like deep promise. You know what I mean. And they want the child, and Siegfried's like, yeah, no, you're not that pretty. And they say like, nee, 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 nee. And he said, and they leave. And he says, yeah, I mean, I could give you her if I could like go to bed with each of you or something. And then they're like, no. You had your chance. You had your chance to give us your ring / your daughter. But we're going to the other one, and we're going to explain it to her now. And Siegfried's like, yeah, okay, good. And then after a while, like the whole other party, the party animals, they're coming. They have had a rough night, let me tell you this. So Gunther has had a rougher night than everyone else, because I'm pretty sure that Brünnhilde didn't let him in her bed. Why would she? And so they're having this kind of, well, they're drunk. Let's be honest. We need a couple of aspirin bottles, and then maybe becoming sober is a thing. But they're really down. And Hagen, of course, goes down to Siegfried, and they talk. And Siegfried talks of the great things of his youth, which is, of course, it has been a couple of years. As we know, contrary to the timeline in the original ring, in this case, it's Rheingold, in the evening is Valkyrie, then about 35 years, I don't know how old Siegfried is in Siegfried, later is Siegfried, and then about 10 years later is Götterdämmerung. So it's been a while since what Siegfried has been experiencing. And in this moment, when he then thinks about how he grew up, he remembers Hagen. This is the first thing. He remembers Hagen, and then Hagen gives him something to drink, which is in the original is the antidote to the love potion Siegfried drank in Act 1. But in this case, it's just some kind of water. And Siegfried looks his daughter into the eyes, and he sees her mother. He sees Brünnhilde, and in this moment, he remembers how much he loves Brünnhilde. And he remembers he remembers how they first saw each other, how they fell in love, how they came together. And this is the point where Hagen really ultimately flips out and he, well, punches him to death in the back and leaves him laying there. And Giles, of course, like, okay. Also, like, the daughter that Erda brought up as, well, then a homeless woman, a blind homeless woman in Siegfried, that girl is also running around a bit in the pool. Or she sits there at one point. But then Hagen goes back up and and they're all kind of down, and then Gudrune comes, and there's the whole usual oh, what has happened? Oh, he's dead. Why is he dead? Yeah, wild boar. Yeah, no, it wasn't a wild boar. Thing is happening. And Hagen says he wants to have the ring, aka the child. But Gunther says, no. Gudrun is his wife, so she should care for the child. And Hagen says, yeah, no, we made this clear that I was gonna have the child because I murdered him and you promised me. And Hagen kills Gunther. Then, obviously, Gudrun is having a fit because she doesn't know anything else to do. And when Brünnhilde comes, she says like, no, Brünnhilde, it's all your fault. And Brünnhilde says, you know, girl, you're just the side chick. I'm his real wife. And I've always have been. And Gudrun, of course, runs off because she doesn't have anything better to do. And Brünnhilde sings her famous last monologue, obviously. And yeah. Brünnhilde sings her last monologue. Hagen, he doesn't get killed. I don't think. I don't remember. I think in the first version that I saw, which has been a few years, that he's actually not dying at all. And I think in this case he's just, I don't know, had an overdose, or I don't know, everything left his body and he's just lying there. And then obviously the Rhine maidens come, and the Rhine maidens take the child away with them in exchange for the young Hagen. I don't know what they're going to do if, like, the child is going to be an adult, because they only want children, not adults. No, but never mind. So Brünnhilde kind of, she says goodbye to everyone. This is nee. Everyone kind of lies around, the whole choir, don't know what to do. And Brünnhilde kind of has this moment of seeing this plastic bag laying around there, and she opens it and finds Grane's head wrapped up in plastic, and she's going insane at this point. So the whole last part where she's talking to Grane to ride on him into the fire of Siegfried's, well, funeral, which is also something that George R.R. Martin ripped off from The Ring, but never mind. So she's kind of singing this to this head, and she's gone completely mad, and she kind of knows that he's the only one who really truly loved her for herself. And that it was a terrible decision to even be with Siegfried, in my opinion. And then she lays down to die next to Siegfried, and that's kind of all on her part. But if you remember, there was also always this kind of little pyramid encased in the glass cube, and this is still standing around there. Now it's all battered up. It's not in the best shape as it was in the Rheingold, but right now it's like beaten up and stuff. It's not whole anymore, and this is the Valhall that starts to burn. So this actually burns from itself, and this is the fire. And then at the very end, we kind of have behind all this, there was just this kind of prospect, and this is going up in the very end when Brünnhilde is already dead, and we have all these lights going around it. So this kind of the fire going on. This was the original. Last year it was different. Last year it went up and my jaw dropped, because if you remember, Wotan is the hanged god. This is one of his names. And from the ceiling up in the air was, well, Wotan hanging from the ceiling in his normal yellow suit and with a rope around his neck and going up. Don't see where it ends, obviously, and he's hanging there, and he's taken his own life after all this time. And in the very last moments of it all, we have this kind of projection of the two babies, the twins, that we saw in Rheingold, but they're not beating each other up in the womb, obviously, in the womb anymore. They don't beat each other up, but they embrace. And this is the end of Götterdämmerung. I mean, obviously, many parts of this production are very crass. Obviously, especially the part with Grane. Very, very crass. But I see where he's coming from. I see that he kind of had to do this in order to make Brünnhilde go insane and stuff like that. So I think this is a great production. It's also a great production for most of the singers, because their characters go really far in depth, and also they don't die. There are very, very few deaths in this one. There's not this thing where like everyone in Valhall dies at the end of it all, at the end of Götterdämmerung. This is not happening. Waltraute also survives. Fricka, we don't know what happened to her. Well, since it's also Christa Meyer, I don't know, this poor woman. She played Fricka in Rheingold, and then she played Fricka and one of the Valkyries in the Valkyrie. Now she played also Waltraute. So Fricka's probably surviving this thing. Waltraute's probably surviving this thing. I mean, there are just a few deaths, really. Just the big ones. And as I said, bringing this into the modern times, I challenge you to make it better. Do it better. Have everything supernatural explained by a natural cause that could be explained nowadays. Do this. I advise you. Try it. I couldn't. This is so great, and I'm honored that I'm going to see at least 2 of the parts this year yet again, because they are really, really great. And I'm so sorry that this whole thing wasn't on DVD, and also that it wasn't like the newest version, because especially the thing with Wotan hanging there, I really sat there and was like, no. And this was so good, and it's such a great production. It's such an underrated production, and I wish, please, please, please have it as a whole in the production as it is now, as a box set. I mean, I'm a great fan, obviously. I also I don't know if I said this before. I probably said it before, let's be real. But Götterdämmerung was actually broadcast in Germany. It's the only part that's just on Blu-ray, not on DVD, which I'm also sour about. But it was broadcast in Germany, and at the beginning of it all, they kind of were filming the crowd and a few people. And she's not my grandmother, but I feel like she's my grandmother, and I went with her to see Götterdämmerung, and we were in that. So we were filmed in the beginning, just going over it. You wouldn't probably notice or recognize me because I was blonde back then. It's been a few years. But I was even broadcast to this. And funnily enough, they before this was even broadcast, I don't know how this happened, but before this was even broadcast, there were a lot of people calling my grandmother and saying, "Oh, you were on TV. You were on TV. You were in this." This was pretty weird because she has a pretty big circle where she's known, so they kind of all knew that she was in there. And anyway, please, I think the whole thing might be on YouTube. Would hope that it will be on DVD. Yes, DVD, not Blu-ray, and the current production. So this would be cool. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just gonna say this out loud. There were two different Siegfrieds I saw from my now standpoint, and you could very well see that the first one was the one it was intended for, because the first one he was good as the bully of the classroom. Let's be real. You need to have this bully type personality to play the Siegfried in this production. And the second one was just too chivalrous. I'm gonna say it. He was too chivalrous. He was too nice. I didn't really believe him the whole "oh Gutrune, you're my girl" thing. I didn't really believe him. He's great as Lohengrin. He's great as Tannhäuser. He also was the original Siegmund, which are all not lyrical roles, but all these more romantic roles. But Siegfried wasn't really his thing, characteristically. Just saying. Yeah, that was the Bayreuth Ring. I hope I don't know, if you've seen a couple of things out of this production, you can understand it now better based on what I think is going on. Obviously, I don't know. I don't know the director. I don't know anyone from Bayreuth, really. Even though I've got a birthday card from him, from them, which is still really weird. This is just what I think this production is about, what the production is like. And I really loved it. Of course, there are a few scenes that were like, okay, good. Like the whole Wotan and Sieglinde thing. Yeah, no, bro, really. But all in all, this is a phenomenal production. So beautiful. I'm so sorry that it wasn't received that well. But it's really, really great. In my opinion. Obviously, we live in a land of free speech unless we're talking bad about politicians. So I can have my opinion about this. I think it's great. So thank you very much for kind of sticking with me through all of this. And yeah, have a nice day. Bye.